Hey, it's Ben. I thought it might be fun to do a different kind of video for once. I'm in the middle of working on a bunch of new material, but I can't finish it because all the studios are still closed due to stuff that's going on. So, in the meantime, I thought that I would make some videos about the gear I use to record. I'm going to start with this particular guitar. This is a Jackson Pro Series Dinky DK2QM. I've had this guitar since spring of 2018, so that's about 2 years. And in that time, I've really kind of gotten to know it pretty well, know a lot of positive statements I can make about it, and also I've come to know some things that I wish were different about the guitar. So I'm going to start off talking about the specs. This is, of course, a dinky body shape, which is the standard Jackson Super Strat shape. This has a bolt-on maple neck. The finish on the back of the neck is what Jackson calls hand-rubbed urethane gel. I've also heard this just called an oiled finish. Almost feels unfinished. There is something on the wood, but it feels very bare compared to what you would get on like a satin or gloss neck. The fretboard is also made of maple, and it is also finished with just the urethane gel or oil or whatever you want to call it. Offset dot inlays, and there's binding on the neck of this guitar. Not all of the Pro Series Dinkies have binding. This one does. So there's white binding up and down the neck. Heel-mounted truss rod adjustment, which is a very nice convenience feature. That is probably my favorite location for the truss rod access to be. It's got a 3-bolt neck joint, which is something Jackson only used for a few years. I'll talk more about that later. There is a 2-piece alder body with a gloss finish. You have a quilted maple, and I say this with a caveat, a quilted maple cap on this guitar. So I'm going to explain that. Jackson's website, back when this model was in the lineup, said that this particular guitar had a 1/8 inch quilted maple cap on it. I'm a little skeptical. If you look at it in the light, which I'll try and show you in the B-roll, you can tell that there is a piece of wood in there that's thicker than a veneer. However, I doubt if that is actually 1/8 inch of quilted maple. I'm guessing that it's just 1/8 inch of regular maple that they put a quilt veneer on, and then just said that it was a maple cap, because that's technically true. But it's also got a matching headstock. It's got definitely a veneer, not a cap on the headstock. Pickups are a Seymour Duncan 59 in the neck, and a Seymour Duncan JB in the bridge, a zebra style with the black and cream. It's got a 5-way selector switch, so there are in-between positions with coil split on this guitar. Master volume, master tone, and it comes with Dunlop strap locks, which is a nice convenience feature. As you can see, I have installed them, and I'm demonstrating them to you. They're pretty sturdy. These are probably the sturdiest type of strap lock that I have personally used on a guitar. A lot better than Schaller strap locks, I can tell you that. These are not going anywhere. You can do anything to this and it's not coming off. Jackson branded tuning machines, they don't really move the needle one way or the other for me, but since this guitar has a locking nut, because it has a Floyd Rose, the tuners really only function when you're putting the strings on the guitar in the first place. And to that end, the Floyd Rose 2000, I believe, this is the 2000 tremolo. It's got the screw-in arm on it, and it is black. I think the only difference between the 1000 and the 2000 is one of them's chrome and one of them's black. So it's a 1000 series Floyd Rose, and that's pretty much the long and short of it. That's what you get with this guitar. So let's talk about what I like about this guitar. First and foremost, I really like the neck. The neck carve is, in my opinion, fantastic. It's very thin. It's not Ibanez thin, but it's close. I think Jackson calls this the speed profile. I've had multiple Pro Series Dinkies over the years, or Pro Series equivalent Dinkies. I had a Japanese one from the mid-2000s. This feels like the same carve. So it's the same carve they've been using on Dinky necks for a while now. And it's nice and thin, but it is not too thin, and it's not too flat on the back. It's kind of a nice medium between like the ultra thin, ultra flat Ibanez neck and a more C-shaped neck like you find on a Strat. It's a nice happy medium, and I like it. It's definitely more on the skinny side, but it doesn't go over the line like some of the Ibanez necks do, so that's very nice. I also like the neck finish. That urethane gel or oil, whatever you call it, that is a great feeling neck because it is not glossy at all, meaning you're never going to get that goopy feeling that you get on a gloss neck when you're playing and under the lights or in hot weather or just building up sweat on your hands, and you know what I'm talking about if you play on a gloss neck a lot. That's an unpleasant feeling that you do not get on this guitar, ever. The neck finish feels very fast, very smooth, and I would say that it's absolutely one of, if not my absolute favorite feature about this guitar. I will add that because the neck is bound, you do not feel the fret ends at all. It's very smooth. I like the color a lot. This is called Chlorine Burst, which is a classic Jackson finish. Definitely did not originate on this guitar. It doesn't show up great on video, as far as I can tell, but it's like a very light turquoise to dark blue burst. It looks bluer on video than it does in real life. But you can kind of see as I turn it that it's lighter in the middle and darker on the sides. I guarantee you, if you see one of these in real life, you'll be more impressed with it than you are in this video, unless I get very good at color correcting. But it's a very, very nice burst on the guitar. It looks classy. Same deal on the headstock. You can kind of tell as I move it around, lighter in the middle, darker on the sides. Very nice, well-made burst. Looks good. One more point that I really, really enjoy about this guitar is the Floyd. This is a good Floyd Rose. Some people are under the impression that the thousands are inferior to the originals or use worse parts or something, or are not made out of the same metal. I can't really speak one way or the other. I'm not a Floyd expert, but what I can tell you is this Floyd Rose works. You can dive bomb on this all day and it is not going out of tune. I can probably count on two hands the number of times total I've had to actually use anything other than the fine tuners to get this guitar back in tune when I wasn't changing the strings. And I've had this guitar for 2 years. So this thing holds tune. I will demonstrate. I'm going to do a dive bomb. And I'm going to pull it up, and it's still going to be in tune. Now I'm going to do the opposite. I'm going to pull it way up like I'm Dimebag. And it's still going to be in tune. I do wish that it came with a push-in arm, but I don't think the regular 1000 series are built to accommodate a push-in arm stock. I think you have to get like the 1500, but I digress. Something else that I really like about this guitar are the pickups. These are both really good sounding pickups, and this is a classic combination that I think has been in a lot of guitars that various famous guitar players have used over the years, and it's sort of trickled its way into like the catalog of many a brand at this point. But that's for a good reason. This is a nice, versatile set of pickups. In particular, I really, really like the JB. The JB is known for being a very bitey pickup. It's got this sort of like nasal upper mid-range that not a lot of other humbuckers have. It's not something that I necessarily associate with like a full-on metal shred guitar like this is to the eye, but in the context of like a band situation or a mix, the JB definitely will cut through a lot. The 59 in the neck is a nice compliment to the JB because it is a lot of things that the JB is not. So the 59 is a very warm pickup, it's very smooth, and very full sounding. So it is very, very nice for high gain leads. Sounds good clean too. But I typically use the 59 for leads. I favor the neck position on this guitar when I'm doing lead playing. Very sweet, very creamy sounds that you can get out of it with the 59. I love it. should also mention that the 5-way selector switch on this guitar gives you a lot of split options, which I will go over. The first position is just the JB. Position 2 is a single coil of the JB, so just the JB split. Here's the weird one. Position 3 is not both full humbuckers, which I'm used to, and this is just both inner coils in series, so it is not hum canceling in the middle position, which is interesting to me. Position 4 is the 59 split. I think it's just the outer coil of the 59, and position 5 is the whole 59. But in particular, I really like the split JB. I don't say that a lot about split humbuckers, but with the right amount of gain and in the right scenario, you can really kind of get that dirty Telecaster twang out of this pickup. And I think that is owed mostly to the JB being a very hot, nasally pickup. It lends itself to that split sound. I'll just noodle something here to show you what I'm talking about. I also really like the neck joint on this guitar. So as I mentioned earlier, it is a 3-bolt neck joint. Jackson only used this particular joint for a couple years. I think on the current Pro Series Dinkies, they switched to using the same neck joint that is currently on the Charvel DK24, which is made in the same factory. These are all made in Fender's Mexico factory. I really like it. It's very, very smooth. The contour blends into the neck shape really well. This edge is not rounded off that much, but it's rounded off enough, and you're really not going to bang your thumb off that unless you're like really kind of like gorilla grabbing your guitar, which I don't, and I don't know that many people who do. Very nice upper fret access overall. It's very, very easy to get all the way up to the 24th fret on this guitar. There's really nothing in your way. It's got a contour here and a contour on the back in the same spot, like a symmetrical one. I don't really know that it has any practical use, but it looks cool, so, I mean, I can't complain. I should also reiterate, this is the best kind of truss rod access you can put on a guitar. I don't care if some people say this doesn't look classic, or it looks dopey down there over the pickup. This is the best. It's so easy to get into the truss rod. You don't have to unscrew anything. I like that it's idiot-proof. I like that you can't accidentally strip the truss rod adjustment nut, which I have done on occasion, not on this guitar. You stand absolutely no chance of breaking this unless you're like sledgehammering it or something. This is so easy to work with, and I wish more guitars had this. Couple things that are a little bit more negative about this that I kind of am annoyed by or wish were a little bit different. First thing I should say is that there were a couple of quality control hiccups on this guitar. On the neck binding, particularly on this side, if you look closely at it, you can see that there's some pretty visible tool marks. That obviously doesn't affect the playability whatsoever, but if you're looking at it from this angle, which, I mean, if you're playing it, you usually are, you do see them. You can also see that the binding, where it blends into the headstock up here, the headstock binding is just painted on, and the little line of paint where the neck binding actually goes up to the headstock is rubbing off. So very slowly that little binding type paint on the headstock is going to disappear. It's not painted on super well. In addition, something that I kind of wish was a little bit different about this guitar, the quilt. The quilt's okay. I'm catching it in the light right now, so you can kind of see there's a little bit of movement there, but it's kind of just like very wavy and cloudy, and there's not a lot of distinct figuring in it. What I do kind of like about it is if you really look at it vertically, you can see some nice grain lines that almost look like spalting in the wood. Yeah, I'm catching those in the wood, or in the light now. Those are actually pretty cool, but I don't really think that is that conducive to a quilt top. I have seen them with nicer quilts than this, though. The one thing about this guitar that does bug me more than anything else is that the neck gets really dirty, and that's on both sides. So I mentioned earlier that hand-rubbed urethane finish, it feels very nice, and it does. But the downside of a finish like that is that there's really nothing to prevent the grime and just debris from your hands and the strings from getting really, really pressed into the maple of the neck. And so it looks pretty dirty. If you've ever seen pictures of Eddie Van Halen's Super Strats and looked at what those fretboards look like after a tour or two, you kind of get the idea of what goes on with this. I'm going to try and show it to you here. If you look really close, you can really see how there's like dark blobs of dirt between the strings. There's really not much you can do to get those off. They're kind of just on there. If you really wanted to, you could like go ham on that with some steel wool or some like 1000 grit sandpaper or something. But at that point, you have to put the oil back on the neck, so it's kind of more trouble than it's worth, I think. And you can also see on the back, up here, this is the color the entire neck originally was. That little area up here at the top where you can tell it's a lot lighter. Yeah, the rest of this, that's what happens when you sweat on the neck. That all those oils and the dirt just becomes part of the guitar. So, caveat emptor, if you like a very clean and shiny looking guitar, this neck is probably not going to do it for you. The offset dots on this guitar are not my favorite Jackson inlay. I wish it had the shark fins, but for whatever reason Jackson does not put shark fins on the Pro Series. But this isn't bad. I prefer this to like a regular dot in the center. It still looks nice, it looks classy. It's just something that I would change if I could. The last drawbacks that I'm going to talk about are a couple things about the pickups. Like I said, for the most part, I really do like these pickups. However, with how nasally the JB is, I don't think it is the most conducive to like down-tuned, super chunky, nasty death metal type riffing or gent. This is more of a classic 80s kind of thrash type pickup, at least in terms of what it's easy to get tones for. I will also mention that the split positions that are not the split JB kind of leave a little bit to be desired for me. They sound very thin. So what I'm going to do now is go through all of the different sounds that you can get out of this guitar. And by that I mean I'm going to demonstrate all 5 pickup positions with high gain, with a crunch sound, and clean. For these tones, I am using a Boss Katana 50 Mark II. I am running that directly into Logic via my Focusrite Scarlett 2i2 interface. And yeah, so I will show you all those tones now. So what are my overall thoughts on this guitar? I think it's really cool. I got this guitar for a little bit less than its original street price, which is $899, which up in that close to $1,000 range. There's a lot of similarly spec'd guitars to this, so a lot of it comes down to personal preference, which brand has the best guitar in that price point. I will say this, the Mexican Fender factory has pretty good quality control, and in my personal experience, the guitars that I played from that factory in that price range, consistently better QC than stuff out of, say, for example, like the Cortec factory in Indonesia, which also makes a couple of Jackson Pro Series models, as it were. The bolt-on Pro Series Jacksons and the Charvel Pro Mod series are all made in that Mexican Fender factory, and I've never played one that was bad. You can get these or this particular model or similar Jackson Pro Series Dinkies on Reverb used for between $500 and $700 all the time, and I think that's a really good buy. If you like shreddy guitars, the super pointy headstock doesn't put you off, as it does not put me off, I say go for it. So let me know in the comments if you'd like to see me do some more reviews like this in the future. If you do, I will make them, because I feel like it's fun to talk about stuff that you like, and I like my guitars. So I'll see you next time. Have a good day. Stay safe.